Hey mama, are you a multi-passionate mom who is juggling all the things, nursing a baby, battling laundry, trying to keep it together and keep a spicy marriage, and feeling like you're feeling all of it? What's up? I'm Ashley Carroll. I'm here to hold your hand through this process because I believe when you're ready to take control of your life, beat the limiting excuses, step into your own power, you can not only survive, but you can thrive. But you're gonna have to show up for yourself. It's time for me to tough love your way through prioritization, taking self-care seriously, getting rid of excuses, reconnecting with your family, kids, and spouse, and quite honestly, learning to love the chaos because the glory is in the journey. It's in the mess. In this podcast, you will find balance for busy mamas, navigating mom guilt, time management strategies, and everything in between with no fluff and lots of fun. Let's go. I'm listening to the heartbeat and it's going ba-bum bum, ba-bum bum, ba-bum bum. It's the third one I've listened to today, and it's the most comforting sound to know that I can hear and ensure health and wellness and safety, and to be able to look over at their mother and say, good job, mom, you've done it, you're doing great, she's healthy, she's well, and then hear the crying sounds from a baby in the next room over, knowing that I am going to bring healing and wellness and help and comfort to the next person that I see. And this is the moment that I've dreamed of all my life. I may not be able to solve world hunger or child abuse, but in this moment, I have control of helping other children and eliminating all obstacles that I can eliminate in this moment for their well-being. And in this moment in time, they're well, they're in my hands, and I know that I can comfort them and bring them joy for those 5 minutes that I see them once or twice a year. Hey, what's up, guys? I am hoping that you are hanging in there, and you're probably also like, what the heck did I just listen to? Yes, you're in the right place. This is So She Grows podcast. That was part of the essay, or the opening lines, something similar of what I can remember as the essay sent out to colleges to be accepted and to receive scholarships. I did, in fact, get accepted and receive scholarships. However, that is not how my story played out. I did not end up graduating. I did not end up becoming a pediatrician. I did not have kids at 26. In fact, my story went a lot different. And I believe it's because of a series of events that led up to this point in time in my life, which I'm going to share with you finally. I have never shared my full story, my journey, because I do not want this podcast to be about me, because it is not. I want to be of service, but I also believe and have wrestled with the idea that to be of service, I also need to be transparent. I also need to share my story so that way others can see why I do the things that I do, why I feel the way that I feel, and also allow you to relate and find healing and freedom within my story, because that's how we find healing and freedom, is not only through our own, workmanship through our lives of, those traumas and those experiences, but also through hearing other people's stories. It gives us new perspective. It gives us hope. It gives us a freeing feeling. It gives us relation, XYZ, all the things. And so I've wrestled with that because I don't want to sit here and Debbie Downer you for 30 minutes. But I also know that if I'm not transparent, although I'm asking you for transparency, that's kind of shady, right? And that is not in any means what I mean to do by withholding my story. So I want to be clear here that this is not an episode for kiddos. This is not an episode for you to be like, hey guys, let's have family time in the car. No, this is an episode for you guys to listen on your own, somewhere that is not where your children can hear, because there is some graphic details that I'm going to be sharing. And also, girl, you might not want to be talking about this stuff with your kids just yet that I'm about to bring up. So unless you want to go there, 7-year-old birds and the bees conversation, I don't know. There are some pivotal moments that stick out in my mind as a child. And just like you guys have these, memories when you're so little, and it's just like that one memory from when you're 5 or 6 and you can remember nothing else. I can remember when I was learning to ride my bicycle, I was trying so hard to get it, and I had this fear of falling, right? Which is completely normal for a 5-year-old child, right? like we do it now with our kiddos. We're like, come on, you can do it. If you fall, I'll catch you, right? And we push our children, and they try and try and try and try, and we help them get up every single time. Well, I'm like 5 or 6, and I'm learning to ride this bicycle, and I can remember exactly it was like a pink and purple bike, and I had this like plastic wicker Snoopy basket on the front, and it was my first bicycle ever. I don't remember my mom being there at all. I don't know where she was. But so my dad, which spoiler alert, was not my dad. My dad was teaching me how to ride, and he took me out front. And I remember trying and crying because like I just couldn't get it, and I just kept falling. And at one point, he was getting more frustrated than I was. And I can remember crying and wanting to try again, but having this fear inside of me, right, that was withholding. And finally, he just took my basket and threw it in the dumpster. Like legit, the dumpster where we were living had this like blue, large, industrial size garbage can to the side of our property or wherever between the houses. And he straight up threw it in there. And I remember losing my mind. Looking back now, that is such a traumatic event for a kid, learning to ride their bike. Like I didn't need anybody to solve the problem for me or help me figure out how to do the bike, right? I just needed somebody to show up for me, and over and over and over again. And in that moment was the first time that I experienced how my father figure would fail me over and over again as a child. And we all make mistakes as parents, right? There's a ton of times where I'm like, oh man, I should have had that conversation differently. I should have responded differently. So now when I parent, I'm always like the first to take a minute and apologize and be like, you know what? I'm sorry for yelling. That was wrong. I was frustrated, blah, blah, blah. Or to always look at things from their perspective and then approach the situation. But as a parent now, there is no way that I would ever try to teach my child to learn a new skill and then get so outright frustrated that I would throw their scooter in the trash or their bike in the trash or their skates in the trash and just be like, you know what? Forget it, right? Like, and walk off. Because literally, I can remember this. I was left out in the front yard by myself at that point. After the bike was thrown in the trash, he went back inside and I was just left like heartbroken, devastated. Now I was in this like panic mode of how do I get my bike out of the trash? I don't want this to be over. It's not my fault. Like, I'm sorry. Come back. Help me, please. Like, I'm sorry. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. At this point, I was living in a house with a roommate, which is the theme of a lot of my childhoods. We were always living with roommates. But my parents had one bedroom, and I slept at the end of their bed on the floor. I don't even think I had a mattress or anything. It was like a sleeping bag and a pillow. And then when we moved into our own house, finally, it was like a rent house on the corner, and my parents continued to stay together. This was like the first time we didn't have a roommate. But I noticed that my parents, and this will be the theme of like my perspective of what a relationship should look like, is for one, they were never married. They were always together. But then two, there was a lot of fighting and a lot of yelling. Every time my dad would fix something, which was not a good idea, he would throw things. I mean, you would just see like milk crates go flying, cussing, yelling, screaming, always. Like no matter what, if he was fixing something, it was going to go down. You just never knew at what point. It wasn't a matter of if he was going to get mad and throw stuff. It was like when, and you just wanted to stay clear. I always spent a lot of time outside because if he was fixing something inside, I wanted to be away from it. It was very traumatic for me to hear that level of yelling, that amount of profanity at that level. And then, heaven forbid somebody try to help because you would be in the line of fire. And then if he was working on something outside, I would obviously be inside. And it was just rough. So if you had a parent that can yell, you can relate to that, right? Like yelling you would think as an adult would become counterintuitive. Like you would not yell because of that. But I've noticed as an adult, I was very quick to anger, very quick to yelling, very quick to reactiveness. And that is something that now I do devastates me when I yell at my kids or when I am quick to anger, because I see that it's like a flashback. And that's something that I don't want for my kids to experience that. So there was a lot of yelling and fighting. My mom and I would go on these walks all the time at night, and she would always confide in me, which baffled me because she had people to talk to. She was really close with her sister, and we spent every weekend at my aunt's house, and I would always play with my cousins. And so she had a lot of opportunities to vent, although I don't know if there was not a place for her to like be open and venting, to where when we would talk, she would, talk about him. And here I am at like elementary age level talking to my mom about her relational issues and her telling me things that she probably shouldn't be telling me, to where now I'm having this perspective of my dad in a way that I shouldn't have, even if the situation was bad. And I'm thinking, and I'm trying to heal because now I feel this level of responsibility. Like I have to solve the problem for them because this is my home. This is, these are the people who care for me. And if they can't get it right, I have to help them fix it because I need their care. I need them. I need I need this. And so there was an extreme amount of responsibility that was put on my shoulders unknowingly to them, I feel like. And I was always trying to solve and peace keep. And that's a lot for an 8-year-old, 7-year-old, what have you. It's intense. Do y'all remember that movie, My Girl? I was obsessed with this movie in elementary school and junior high. It had, oh crud, I can only remember their actor names, like Veda and Thomas J. That's the name of it. I just looked it up. So it's Veda Sultanfuss, who was played by Anna Chlumsky, and then Dan Aykroyd was in it as the dad, and then Thomas J. was Macaulay Culkin. It was like a 1991 movie. Anyways, in this movie, Veda goes through this phase of like realization that she doesn't know where her features come from because her mom has passed away when she was a baby, and so she has no like physical resemblance to her relatives. And she's like, what, so she's searching for her identity throughout this movie. And in this movie, she's like breaks down and is like, this nose, I don't know whose nose this is, and she's crying and all these things. And so I come to this realization that I don't recognize my features in my parents. I have tan skin, like dark tan skin. I lived in California as a child, so I was always outside, always dark. My cousins used to tease me that I was black or that some part of me was African American because I was literally so dark all the time. And I had brown hair, hazel eyes. My nose was a distinct feature of my body that I didn't recognize in anybody else. Like my nose was just in your face, okay? As a child, it was like one of those awkward things that grows first and your whole face is like tiny and your nose is extremely big. That was me as a child. So I have these features that don't resemble any of my parents. This is so confusing to me as a second grader. This is when I come to this realization. And my mom is Caucasian. The dad that I'm living with is Caucasian, blue eyes, brown hair. My mom, brown, Caucasian, brown eyes, brown, really wispy thin, just nothing. I was an extremely athletic, solid body, like built. Neither of my parents resembled that. Second grade, okay, my parents had one of their blow up explosive fights. They decided to split up. It's then that my mom tells me, because I'm now old enough to understand what splitting up means, what their separation means, that he is not my biological father. So she told me as if it would give me some sort of sense of freedom or detachment from this. Like it wouldn't be my fault, or that them separating doesn't have any amount of influence on me because he's not actually my dad. Like, I don't know what exactly was going through her. I felt like she had to tell me because of the situation, but at the same time, it did the exact opposite. So I'm like in second grade. going through this full panic identity crisis of like, oh crap, my parents are separating. My house, like my foundation is crumbling. And I also have no idea where I come from. I don't know. She can't tell me the name of the person that's my dad. She can't tell me where he is, if he's alive. There's like literally, it's like a shotgun, right? Like I just felt like if I could look back at that, it's like, I mean, I just have no words right now trying to picture that moment and like all the things that I was feeling or would have been feeling. But to realize that the person that you've been living with isn't exactly your dad, and that you also don't know who is your dad, and then also struggling with the fact of like, somebody left me, like somebody chose not to have me in their life. Like they saw me, like, did he see me? Did he even know I was alive? Like, does he know? And I had all these billions of questions that my mom left unanswered for me. Like it was an avoided conversation after that. It was like, here you go. Here's this freeing truth for you. Don't worry because he's not your dad. So, but I also have zero information about your dad to share with you, but good luck with that, right? Like, it was traumatic, and it was something that I carried on for the rest of my life, subconsciously. Okay. And this is why I'm such a big advocate of father figures in kids' lives, in daughters' lives especially, and why we date our children, and why we're affectionate with our children. There are so many things, and I am a huge advocate for also dating as a couple and having your kids see you be affectionate dating, because what you do now, ultimately your kids will mirror in their relationships and in their marriages later. And that will be a theme throughout the rest of my adolescence and teenage years and growing up, is this pivotal moment. So now I'm dealing with this rejection from a stranger that I have no idea exists or doesn't exist. And it's heartbreaking, right? To know that somebody chose not to be in your life and you have no idea why. Even if it's not your fault, you wear that. You wear it so deeply and as children and even adults, we wear rejection so easily. And then we are also quick to own or take ownership of the blame for something that is not our responsibility. So then you also have that badge of, what if I had done this? Or what if this had happened? Or what if, we had gone here? What if had I done this? Like, then he wouldn't have left, or what, and so that is something that throughout my whole life I've had to overcome. And I literally can remember all the way through high school still struggling physically, like mentally still actively thinking, why? Like, why did he choose to leave me? Like, this person that I have no idea who it is, they have all this power over my mind, my abilities, my functions. Like, I mean, it's impacting me huge when I get to high school. And I don't even know if they exist. I don't even know if they know I exist. And yet there's this power that it holds over me that is insanity. This will come full circle as I'm a parent now, and it already has, of like giving forgiveness, because when we wear the burden of others, like the faults of others, it wrecks us. But yet they're still out in the world functioning with not a care in the world about the damage that it's doing to us. And it only affects us. So why give them that benefit? It's like bullies, right? Like, they say something to you, but it doesn't hurt them, it hurts you. And then you wear it. And then the wounds get deeper and deeper and deeper while they're off doing their thing fancy free. They forgot about what they said to you by now. They don't even care about it, but yet you're still wearing it and healing and like digging deeper into it. So I just tell my kids, like, we have this conversation all the time. Like, you got to forgive. You got to work through it, because it's not you, it's them. Easier said than done when you're like 16, 18, right? Or like at any age, honestly, pre-adulthood, even adulthood. Like, I know so many people carry these things and have not learned this, but through faith, I've learned to forgive, and thank God, literally. Okay, so where was I? I had to put my little guy back to sleep, which is such an odd juxtaposition to this conversation. I'm like, hold on, let me stop talking about my trauma to go put my angelic baby down, who is just so full of sweetness and innocence. So, like I said, I was young, dealing with rejection. I had this sibling. So I'm the youngest sibling out of, there's three of us total. My brother and my sister are half brother, sister. They have a different dad. They are like 15 years older than me. So I'm essentially a single child, but not at the same time. My sister lived in a different state. Throughout my adolescence, I will always hear how much she hates me, but is also nice to me at the same time, which is awful. It's an awful experience to be told by other people, never from her, that all these negative things like she resents me for my experience, yada yada, she's mad at me, blah blah blah. Never from her mouth, always from the mouths of other people who are around us. I had no control over that. Like in her eyes, because my brother and my sister, essentially, I'm told, I've never gotten to have these conversations with them. My sister has since passed, had a traumatic childhood as well. And in their perspective, or at least my sister's, I can't speak for my brother because I don't think I've had that conversation with him. I got a whole different experience. Holy crap. Like, holy cheese balls, were you wrong? It might have been less than, or like in different ways, but no way. And so my brother, who was closest in age to me, but still like 12, 15 year age gap, was the only sibling I had. And he was in and out of prison and jail my entire life, like up until I think high school or college-ish. Like all the way from, I couldn't remember a time in adolescent life that he wasn't incarcerated or arrested or something. And I very much felt close to him. I don't know how he felt towards me, but I felt this like prideship in him and this obligation to peacekeep with him and my family. Obviously to help him make right decisions. I wore that burden at such a young age. And, I don't know why. I can't tell you why I did that. I have letters that we've wrote back and forth to each other, like says from me, like my little old scratchy, like elementary age handwriting. And then his address, like with the jail address and the inmate number. And it's stamped that says it's coming from a penitentiary. This is from an inmate at in those letters that I've read, it's like always me saying, well, you can do it. Like, you can do it. You just have to do this. And like, you just have to make sure that you can do this. Like, you maintain your attitude in there, and you got to maintain, make good decisions. And like, I am like this 7-year-old, like 8-year-old, 10-year-old mini little therapist. These things that I'm trying to tell him, because I'm trying to tell him like, hey, you got to get right. Like, you got to get right. You got to take care of these people. You got to stop choosing these friends. You got to do this. Like, these are the things that people should be telling me at this point, and this is what I'm telling him. So that was another like huge thing that was impactful on my youth, was the fact that I was surrounded by anger. I was surrounded by broken relationships. I remember always when my brother was in prison, he had a child, and I would always go spend the night with that child, my nephew, and his mom, and I would have this obligation to be there. I hated it. But I had this obligation to be there at, oh my gosh, how old was I? Like 3rd grade, maybe 4th grade, just to take care of the baby. I woke up and made the baby breakfast. Got him out of the crib. Like, the mom would not wake up. Like, he would be screaming bloody murder, and she could sleep right through it. I remember going to like places with them. You guys, I got in so many cars with places. Like, I look back and I'm like, Mom, have you lost your freaking mind? You let these people drive me? These people were on drugs, clearly. But just being surrounded in atmospheres where drugs were present all throughout my childhood. I was an acutely, can I say that? I don't even know if I'm using that word. I was unnaturally are like overly aware of, like, to the extreme event. I was extremely observant kid. And so I knew when I was in third grade, my mom was using drugs. I knew that when I was going to watch my brother's kid while he was in jail, there was drugs present. I knew that when there was people over, they were doing drugs. I knew that when I lived in this house with my quote unquote aunt and her family, there was drugs. I knew, like, I knew. I knew it, and I couldn't control it, and I hated it because it was this bad thing that I didn't understand what it was, but I knew that when people did it, they were different. I didn't like it. There was conflict because of it. There was fighting because of it. There was turmoil because of it. So all these things, like, I'm extremely aware of, and it's such a weird place to be in when you're a kid because you don't understand it completely and you haven't experienced it also, and it's tearing everything around you apart, and you have no control over that, which will make sense when I'm like trying to control all the things as an adult, right? If you dated me and you're listening, now you know. But just crazy. So I can remember this one time my brother knocked on my window. It was like so late, and I could hear this knocking, and I don't know where I got this braveness from, but I like opened my blinds with no hesitation. And I was like, I knew it was my brother, instinctually knew it was him. He was at my window, hadn't seen him in years. He was in jail for all I knew. I knew this knocking on my window was him. Sure enough, I pulled back my curtains, my pink ruffly curtains, and it was him. So I like run out and I'm like, mom, my brother, brother's at my window. And my dad hated him. I think it's because they used to mess with him when, like, before I came along and stuff. And anyways, it just, oh, can I also say, this is one note that I had a toaster room. Okay. My dad was an antiques, like my parents were all into antiques. And so at one point my parents did move back in together with each other, but my dad turned my room into an appliance room. He was a collector and like fixed old toasters and old fans. And so even when I moved in, he would not take the appliances off the wall. It was as if to remind me that this was not permanent, or that like he wasn't fully, it was weird. It was always there and I hated it. And so I had these glass shelves on my walls, and my cousins used to tease me that it was the toaster room. Like I had a toaster room because legit I had toasters all over my wall. And in this, you also could not ever get anything dirty. My dad was a neat freak, and so like everything had to be immaculately placed. My mom would always complain because she would clean, but then he would go behind her and clean it again because it wasn't good enough. Everything had to be spotless, fingerprintless. Like, this is not an atmosphere for kids. Like, I have 3 kids, and I specifically buy furniture in mind that I do not, like, I will not hold tight to it. Like, I spent, $200 on a couch knowing that it's probably going to get trashed and demolished by my children. And then when I'm older, I can enjoy nice things, right? Like, we cannot have nice things right now. And so just insane. But I can remember him knocking on my window, and I like telling my mom, like, my brother, he's outside, da, 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 da. And I was like so pumped. And then I was even more pumped when he like got to sleep in my room. I don't know why he was there or whatever. And then I remember waking up the next morning, he had stole all the money out of my piggy bank. I was like devastated. I was devastated, but at the same time, I felt like he needed it more than me. So I was also okay. It was just so weird. A weird childhood, guys. Like, you're getting the whole enchilada because I want you to know that you can heal. You're worthy of love. Like, you can heal too. Like, this is me waiting to tell this story. Like, I'm in my 30s now. It's taken me this long. I don't even know. I can think of the exact moment when I was in my mid 20s is when I was finally able to really shed the weight of all this, and then also continue to grow and move forward, which has only been even more fruitful and beautiful as I've gotten older. And I want that for you guys too. Hey guys, if you're listening in, I hope you are finding some resonance, maybe some healing. Maybe you're realizing that I'm somebody you can talk to about something or reach out to for resources for situations that we've gone through together and apart in motherhood, or in life or in our childhoods. This is just part one of that story because I know we only have short snippets of time as mamas. I want you to get back to loving your babies and loving them well and caring for them. And if this has dredged up any traumatic memories for you, I want you to know that you're human and that is normal, and it's okay to feel that. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to be angry. But ultimately, you have the rest of your life in front of you, and to give others the power, that power over you, they're not worthy of that. They're not worthy of having you cry over them, of you dwelling over the past of situations. You're so much better than that, and they don't deserve a minute of your stress, your anxiety, your tears. And I want you to know that if you feel like you need somebody to reach out to, you can email me at my email, theashcarroll@gmail.com. You can hop in the community, which I highly suggest because I'm going to be sharing more, and I'm always available. Like, girl, Facebook is on my phone, so I accidentally, let's not lie here. I have a habit of getting on unbeknownst to myself, but my finger just goes there, right? Like, we're on social media all the time. And so if you're in the Facebook group, the So She Grows Mom Community, search it in Facebook, hop in there. Let me know things because I want to be there for you. I want to support you when you feel like you need it. And I hope you continue to listen to part 2. I have a purpose to these episodes, or at least I hope I can bring a purpose and some clarity, some freedom, some healing through my story. And I hope that you can find that through me sharing today and as you continue to listen in. So let me know, hop in my DMs. Let me know how you feel so far. Shoot me an email, contact me. Let me know if you just think that, I mean, you could even tell me, girl, that's insane. Like, I don't even know. Maybe I shouldn't have shared so much, but I feel like everybody was gifted a story for a reason, and I would be withholding from one of you, even if one of you is like, that is me. How did she come out on the other side? How can I do the same thing? Then, girl, I will spill all the drama for you specifically because I see you. I want you to know that if you think you can't heal, you can. If you think you're not worthy of love, you are. And you are an amazing person. I hope you guys keep listening in. Subscribe to So She Grows podcast. I appreciate you. Catch you next time.